This one comes from Diana, and she had to message me this one. It was from earlier, but I want to get it in. It's sort of long, so bear with me. Would Rob consider that Yeshua may have been born on tabernacles because the word for manger translates from Greek to Hebrew as sukkah? Mm-hmm. Alas, he was made flesh in the tabernacle among us. We see the connection between the manger and the sukkah in Genesis 33:17, where Jacob built booths for tabernacles. Hebrew Sukkot, or Sukkot, is the plural form for his livestock, showing us that the Hebrew word for sukkah, plural sukkah, Sukkot, can also mean livestock, barn, or manger, as well as a temporary habitation where the Israelites dwelled during the biblically commanded festival of Sukkot.
Yeah. I mean, a sukkah is just basically a structure that you build. It's not something that has to be your tent for Sukkot. If you built like a 3-walled structure with a roof, you built the sukkah. It's just a structure. So applying that to only meaning the Feast of Sukkot, it wouldn't work. It would be just as applicable to a stall that you made for animals. It's just a structure. But the problem I have with him being born at Sukkot, we've talked about this in previous shows, but I'll just summarize it. Revelation 12:1-5 describes a stellar alignment that is the description of his birth. A woman clothed with the sun, 12 stars over her head, the moon at her feet. Well, that event took place in 80 minutes, a window of time when it was perfect, a perfect alignment. I understand that similar alignments happen around the same time in many years. In fact, there's supposedly one happening next year. But last time I looked at that, it wasn't nearly as perfect. I mean, you got Virgo, which is the woman. You got Leo, the 9 stars and the planets that were added to it, which are wandering stars, make up the 12 stars, and the moon at her feet. I mean, that's all perfectly aligned exactly as Revelation 12:1-5 describes it on September 11th, 3 BC. Other times, the moon's like way over here. It's over here. It's more at her hip, not at her feet. I mean, it's close, but it's not the perfect alignment that happened for 80 minutes on September 11th, 3 BC. And the moon at her feet on September 11th, 3 BC is a new moon. It's not a full moon. So that rules out Sukkot, because Sukkot's a full moon. I mean, you're talking the 15th of the month. So for me, that's a slam dunk. I mean, it just totally nullifies, because that's a stellar description of his birth, and that perfectly fits the Feast of Trumpets, which happens on a new moon. So that would be number one. Number two, the command for Sukkot is that all males have to be in Jerusalem. Well, that's not a good way for the sinless lamb to enter the world and violate his father, his earthly father, Joseph, adopted father, whatever you want to call him, stepdad, is not in Jerusalem. He's in Bethlehem. Yeshua is being born there in Bethlehem. He's not in Jerusalem. And he wouldn't be able to tabernacle among us because when a woman gives birth to a boy child, there's 7 days, what they call unclean, where she's supposed to spend 7 days apart from everybody else with the child. So he wouldn't have been Sukkotin with everybody. He would have been, A, not in Jerusalem because he's in Bethlehem, and B, set apart for 7 days, so he wouldn't be with anybody anyway, and then circumcised on the 8th day. So that would be another reason why I don't believe it. There's a rabbinic tradition, I understand, take that for whatever it's worth, that Adam was created on Yom Teruah, that he was born, if you will, or put into this world, created on Feast of Trumpets, and we know that Yeshua is the second Adam. So there's way more, I wouldn't say circumstantial evidence, I would say solid evidence pointing to Feast of Sukkot, Feast of Trumpets, Yom Teruah, birth, than there is for trumpets. Everything that I've heard, Mark Biltz has a great teaching on this Sukkot birth, Tabernacles birth. It's all anecdotal. It's interesting. It ignores Revelation 12:1-5, and ignores the command to be there. It also ignores the fact that he couldn't be among anybody because they would have been set apart because of the time of uncleanness. Whereas if he's born on the Feast of Trumpets, on the day that kings are coronated, and trumpets are going off on earth as it is in heaven, so that's a great way to celebrate Yeshua, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, coming into this world with trumpets going off in heaven and on earth. then he has 7 days of uncleanness with Mary, and then on the 8th day he's circumcised. 2 days later you have Day of Atonement, and then a few days later they all have plenty of time to get over into Jerusalem for Sukkot, where he would have legitimately been able to tabernacle among them because he would have been past the time of uncleanness.
That makes total sense. Absolutely.